Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and of course, our co-host, Carissa, is having some technical difficulties. I think that's still going on, so she will be joining us here as well as she works furiously in the background, but the show must go on. And everyone, hey, how you doing? Welcome into the program today. We have a guest, and well, I shouldn't even say a guest. We have a correspondent. She's been a long-time contributor to Computer America. We appreciate her insight, and of course, hey, she gives us her honest reviews, takes, and just her thoughts and opinions on a lot of different tech. Everything from when she first came on, she mentioned that she focused on things like digital cameras, computers, monitors, printers. Just general consumer electronics. And I guess lately she's even broadened that to consumer services, I would say as well, including things like streaming services, music services, and digital assistants. So everyone, Sandy Berger will be joining us here in just a moment, and we're very happy to have her. So that is happening. ComputerAmerica.com. Want to get that out of the way. That is where you'll find everything, including past shows, future shows, archives, video, podcasts. We have some recent reviews and articles up there. And just about anything that we do here on the program, you can find at our website. Of course, if you're listening to us on the radio, if you're listening to us on the podcast, or hey, you're watching the live stream, we appreciate it so much, and thank you for tuning in. So, all that being said, and at Computer America, all social media. Okay, I think that's about it. Oh, Carissa, and I can hear Carissa, so I'll bring her on. So in just a moment. So everyone, our co-host, she's been with us for about a week and a half and still working out all the issues. But you know what? We can hear her. She's sounds peppy, which we like. Carissa, how you doing? Welcome on to the show again.
Thanks. I'm so sorry for the technical difficulty. I don't know what was happening. Aaron was using it earlier, and then it wasn't working. So.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know, but it's working now.
We're going to blame Aaron, that dastardly Aaron. So, and hey, I'm glad that it's working now. And again, you sound good. So with that being said, Chris is here. Why don't we go ahead, bring on our guest, and hey, we'll just start with the conversation. So everyone, as I said before, Sandy Berger, she is our consumer electronics expert, and of course, writes for CompuKiss and many other publications. Been a long time tech industry insider, and hey, we're honored to have her on Computer America. Sandy Berger, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, thank you so much for for being here. I'm hoping that we'll just kind of get this out of the way. How you doing? Quarantine has been hard on everyone. How you doing?
It has been hard, but it's not as bad as it could be if I was in a different situation, because I work from home anyway. So it's not all that much different for me. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, I'm sure that's same here. I'm lucky that we had the home studio already under construction when we when this whole thing started. So I'm happy that at least in our industry we're doing okay. And by the way, this is the first time I believe that Carissa and you, Sandy, have been on the air together, obviously, but have met each other. So let's see, how do I do this? Sandy, this is Carissa. She's the co-host of the show now.
Hi, Sandy.
Hey, Carissa, glad to meet you.
You too.
Yeah,
and welcome to the show. That's wonderful.
Yeah, having a good time so far.
Okay, good.
Definitely happy
Keep
to
having
have her.
fun.
Definitely happy to have her, and looking forward to her contributing in on our conversation today. And today we have a ton of different stuff that to talk about, and I think we'll go ahead and start with kind of what have you been up to, because I think that's a pretty good segue into today's topics.
Right, because I've been doing what everybody else has been doing, watching a lot of television. Yeah. And as you know, and we've talked about, I gave up cable TV months and months ago. And, so now I'm experimenting with all these different streaming services, streaming devices. There is so much out there that it's mind-boggling. Now, people have given up cable TV because there are too many choices. Well, streaming TV will give them even more choices.
Yeah, and of course, streaming services. Looking at the subscriber numbers, I think that Netflix in particular has been crushing the subscriber numbers, and almost all services are at record peaks as well. So with that being said, you giving up cable, we should probably address that, because I think that a lot of people out there, judging by the numbers, I haven't looked, about a month or two ago, I think it was Comcast put out their latest numbers and said that about 400 to 500,000 people cut the cable, or cut the cord, is the phrase. And that could be anything from economic stress to whatever, but you have to imagine that some portion of that is people just turning away from expensive cable deals and going to streaming. How does that make you feel, Sandy, that you're vindicated? Other people are following suit.
Yeah, they are. They're following me in masses, especially for streaming services like Disney Plus. Disney Plus, in a few months, I think they've been available for less than 6 months, and they gained as many subscribers as it took Netflix 8 years to get to. So it's
an impressive number.
Yeah, it's amazing. Now, Disney's still not, they're making tons of money on their streaming. However, they've got theme parks and other problems. So Disney is not necessarily doing that well.
Yeah, their cruise lines aren't exactly going, and of course their parks are at limited capacity.
Right.
But Disney has been bringing more content to their services, and I think we'll start with, obviously, their base catalog. It was I've heard some people who don't have kids but were watching Disney Plus after, like, let's say The Mandalorian was one of the biggest draws for the service, but I think that's doing its next production, and essentially that season is over. The back catalog is a bunch of Disney movies, which are great, a bunch of Disney shows, but of course they still have to keep them on their Disney Channel. What I'm trying to say here is that their catalog wasn't the most robust going into it, and if I recall off the top of my head, the amount of new content released this year, Disney Plus is actually one of the lower ones, and although I will say one of the more higher rated, like they put out better stuff consistently, but Netflix in particular has put out as much content as all the other streaming services combined. Do you feel like Disney has rounded out their content?
Disney has so much content out there that it's difficult to find it all, to see it all. And a lot of Disney stuff is in 4K, which for me is wonderful because I love watching really good videos. Besides Mandalorian, they had For All Mankind and quite a few other originals. The morning show was Apple. Okay, but they've had a lot of other originals and a ton of content very, very deep. I mean, if you want to watch goofy cartoons, you can, but on the other hand, you can also watch old TV shows that have been upgraded to 4K. So I think Disney has, for the price that they're charging, which is about $6 or $7 a month,
Affordable.
they have the content. Now, they just came out with Hamilton. No, that's again Apple. I'm getting confused.
Hamilton. I think that was Disney, wasn't it?
Was that Disney? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's right.
Yeah. You were right the first time.
With Hamilton, they came out with Frozen 2 to keep people really involved, giving them these brand new shows for free. However, they've also made a decision to do a trial run with Mulan. They're going to come up with that in September, and they're charging, I think it's close to $40. For subscribers to pay extra to see that movie. I think they're just throwing it out there to see what people are willing to pay for. I'm not sure.
There's a lot that goes into this. Before we go any further, though, I wanted to take a little poll within our little discussion here, and I'll start with Carissa. Carissa, which streaming services, if any, do you subscribe to?
Currently, I've got Netflix. I also use a lot of the Amazon Prime service. And I kind of swap between Hulu and Netflix. So every once in a while, like I'll get through all of the shows on Netflix. Okay, I got to wait for the seasons to renew. So then I'll hop on Hulu and catch up what I was doing over there, and then kind of swap back. So those are the three I really use. I haven't really tried Disney yet.
Yeah. So
you still have cable, Carissa, or any TV?
I haven't had cable in 20 years.
Okay.
And okay, so we have one for Netflix and Hulu and that kind of thing. And Sandy, which ones do you currently subscribe to? And it's not, it's not an indictment. I just want to know what you currently are using.
Well, I have Amazon Prime, and I love it. There's a lot of good content there. Hulu, I've tried and liked. Hulu Live, I really liked. YouTube TV, I really liked, but those as their prices went up, Sandy Berger went away.
YouTube TV, sorry to cut in there real quick, but about a week and a half, or whenever they did their earnings call, they mentioned that they were increasing it from like $45 to like $55 or $60. Like it was like a 25% increase.
Huge increase. And the day after the announcement, I canceled my subscription because I want to make a statement that I don't really want to pay these people quite that much money. So for me, it's a question of what you can get for the price. Netflix, I do watch, but I subscribe to Apple TV, Disney Plus, and the new one, Peacock.
That is certainly one that we haven't even talked about here on the show, and I'm curious, after we talk about Hamilton and Mulan and all this kind of stuff, how you're finding that service, because Peacock, I guess, kind of joins a field that, as much as we talk about consumers like choice, at the same time, you're looking at, no one here has mentioned HBO at all yet. So there's HBO and Showtime and a lot of these other services as well. It's getting pretty darn crowded. So I will say that. But, and just to throw mine out there, I currently subscribe to Netflix and, of course, Amazon Prime, but that's because we get the Prime and it's there in the background. And I think we have access to Hulu. So that is where I guess kind of all of us are coming from. Now, what I wanted to get back to, and I got to say that this is very, very interesting, which is the Mulan feature. Mulan was scheduled to come out, if I recall, sometime in March. And then a global pandemic happened, as I think we're all aware. And the release date was pushed back month after month after month. And I guess Disney finally got tired of saying, we're tired of pushing this back for a theatrical release. And they're just going to put it out on Disney for a separate, and I think it's like a 24 or 48 hour rental, as most of these things go. And you get it for $30, as many people as you want to watch it. So imagine like a family of four. It's actually a bit cheaper than going to the movies for 4 people to watch it. And yeah, you're going to be able to watch it in your home. What did you think about that, Sandy?
Well, like I said, I think they're just trying to see how much people will pay for it. I think off the top of my head, it was like $40. Have you checked that
I guess it was
$30?
30, but let's see. Mulan costs, and of course it changes the costume. By the way, if you want to be Mulan, lots of costumes. Mulan, and well, I got the cost of the film, which is about $200 million. I will find it here in just a second. And by the way, $30 is this.
Okay.
Came out August 12th. So yeah, today.
Okay. Yeah. Well, $30 is not that bad, but
and by the way, sorry to cut in there again, but they're saying 37 because you have to be subscribed for $7. So it's going to be
that was the
30
difference. Yeah.
37.
Okay. Yeah. But in any case, I really would like to see the costs stay down on the streaming stuff. So I'm not going to watch Mulan, probably because I'm not that interested. I don't have a group of people to watch it to make it really worthwhile. And on top of that, I don't want to tell Disney that I'm willing to pay that much for in addition to my service fees. In other words, subscription fees are fine. Let them charge what they need to charge. But I don't want to pay extra. I feel that way with even these other streaming services where you go on and you say, oh, I want to watch this, I want to watch that. And then when you press a button, it's an extra cost.
Amazon in particular. Yeah.
Yeah. They all do it.
Yeah, they certainly do. So, and Carissa, if you want to say anything about Mulan being $30 to watch in your home, yeah.
I think it's ridiculous, and I feel like the prices should stay down because this market is so saturated for these streaming services. They're going to have to, keep the cost low to keep people interested. But I don't know. I'd pay maybe $20 for that in my house. I wouldn't pay $40 for that in my house.
I agree.
That's a good question. So Sandy, and Chris has just put $20 on it. How much? Because this is certainly different than, let's say, Netflix, where Netflix has committed billions of dollars for content, but then they put out, I think this year they're committing to like 130 different television series, documentaries, movies, different kind of show formats. They've committed to a bunch of content that is almost like made for streaming, whereas Mulan, $200 million. Like I just found that out like 2 seconds ago, and it's kind of blowing my mind. $200 million for a full-blown movie. Like, this is something that should have went to the box office and made, it's Disney, so about $1 billion, and instead they're doing it in-home release, which is completely uncharted. How much would you pay for something like this? Chris said 20. You said you kind of agree.
Yeah, 20 wouldn't be bad. That's if you've got only 2 people, that's $10 a person for a movie that you would pay more than that, probably go to the show. And I realize it's unsettled times and they're trying all this sort of stuff out, but we have to see where it all comes down to.
Well, I'm even surprised that this whole thing even happened, considering that one of the biggest lobbying groups in the country is actually the association that represents all of the movie theaters. And by all of them, I mean like AMC in particular, but I'm sure that there are others out there. Movie theaters have been like lobbying against companies releasing their films directly into people's homes for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. We've had the technology. I think people have had broadband internet and have been able to download movies. I think even Carissa can speak to downloading them in other ways and be able to watch them. Yeah, there we go. Just put a word to it. So they've been able to download these full-length feature films for a long time, but they haven't done it. And it's because movie theaters know that as soon as that happens, that is the death of the movie theater. Because at that point, you go to and I know that some movie theaters have started playing old movies, and they provide a lot of different drinks and bars and kind of restaurants. That's all well and good, but most movie theaters live off of the fact that you can only watch these films in the theater for the first little while. So they didn't want to do this, Sandy.
Yeah, it's unfortunate the way that the virus is changing our lives, and maybe movie theaters do go away, which would obviously hurt millions of people in more ways than one. But we have to realize that things are changing, and they're changing quickly. And streaming itself is changing. I mean, these streaming devices, the services, they're all trying to figure it out. They're putting numbers out there, subscription numbers, and they're putting numbers of pricing out. And, you can pay almost $20 a month for Netflix 4K, or you can go with Disney for $6 a month, or $7. It's unbelievable, the difference of what's going on, and you've got a lot of decisions to make if you're going to be a streamer.
And of course, if you are going to pick your streaming service, I'm glad that there's no contracts, because that's something that the cable industry always did. That so far, streaming, even with the increase in pricing that's been happening, none of them have tried to lock you into like a 6-month Netflix deal. It's still kind of a pay as you go, month by month, and they're kind of keeping the cost down as much as they can. So to wrap up the whole Mulan thing, and going by this article here from The Verge, they also mentioned that a couple of other big movies, such as the most recent Scooby-Doo, Onward, The Rise of Skywalker, Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, they have been about $20, which is where you two have felt more comfortable with big blockbuster movies. But I think the difference is that, they already had their theatrical release, and it was just kind of leftovers, I guess, at that point. I don't expect this to catch on. Disney is going to keep putting hundreds of millions of dollars into their films. I doubt that they have made enough money to really say that, this is a viable way to release these expensive products. So because, Chris has said pirating, as soon as you release it into people's homes, even if it's some weirdo with a camcorder just pointing at the TV screen, it's going to be pirated. And it's just not going to make as much money. So I don't see this catching on.
My concern. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say my concern with the movie is the budget was so big, but I understand there's Mushu's not even in it, so I don't even know what that's about. You can't afford to put a little bit of CGI in there. Have a little dragon. Keep the story towards.
I've not heard anything about the actual movie and the reviews and that kind of thing. So I can't even speak to that. Let's see, Mulan Mushu.
Yeah, it's supposed to be more historically accurate.
I could have sworn that they were talking dragons in China. I don't understand. This is
that's what I thought too.
Well, the more you know. But it's Disney. I think people will see it just because it has the Disney name attached to it. And hey, they're releasing it. I guess they were tired of doing that. I'm not and when I say it's not going to catch on, I don't expect, let's say, the next series from Marvel to come out in this format. Like movie theaters, eventually they're going to come back, and then they're going to release other things. I think Mulan was a strong enough, but yet not that vitally important that they just wanted it out the door. So poor Mulan, a victim of time and circumstances. So with that being said, there's Disney Plus, and again, you mentioned Hamilton. The hit play is I guess they filmed a particular Broadway play and put it onto the service, and I'm guessing, Sandy, that you have seen Hamilton. How was the film adaptation?
I have seen it. It really wasn't a film adaptation. It was a stage show being filmed, but it was excellent, very historical. My 2 teenage granddaughters absolutely went crazy over it. They know all the songs and everything that's associated with it. So it was very popular. It was very well done. And if you subscribed already, it was free. So that was something that was very nice. Again, Frozen 2 was the same thing for the younger crowd. Yeah. Everybody was excited about it, and it was free.
Absolutely. Although I will say, my parents did like Frozen 2, so just putting that out there. So there you go. There's Disney Plus, and you're saying that for the $7 a month or $6.99 that they could, and actually $6.99 and then $70 a year, which would even put it closer to like $6 a month. it's still very much worth the price. And this almost seems like an introductory kind of thing.
Yeah, and I actually signed up for Disney Plus before it came out. They had a pre-joining subscription. Yeah, and it was less than $4 a month. You had to sign up for 3 years, but I figured Disney's got enough stuff to last at least 3 years. Well, so I went and did it, and it's been well received and well done.
So one thing that Disney has, they have a lot of deals with. They have a lot of deals with a lot of different people, because up until Disney Plus, they owned like 40% of Hulu. That was the best way that you could get Disney content, but they clearly didn't put everything up on Hulu. And a lot of these contracts, they're still going. Netflix still has a lot of the Marvel stuff. Hulu still has a lot of the Fox stuff. So I think in 3 years' time, when Disney decides to kind of pull everything much closer and put everything onto Disney Plus, including, you can see up there on my screen, Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, National Geographic, and of course you can add Fox in there as well. I think that your 3-year subscription is going to pay very good dividends.
I think so too. I'm very happy with it. And I'm also happy with the way Disney has taken some of the older movies, like Sound of Music. If you watch Sound of Music through Disney Plus and you get it in 4K, it is spectacular. Whether you like the old movies or not, the video of it is spectacular. And Disney has done a wonderful job. Now, these newer things that are coming out, where we've got HBO Max and Peacock, neither one of those is streaming 4K right now, which is upsetting to me. They both say they're going to be including it, but they don't have it yet. Disney had it the day they came out.
I wonder what the holdup is. And I know that 4K, that appeals to probably a much smaller audience than, just HD or things like that. But technologically speaking, it should be pretty simple.
It should be. And I think that, I can't speak to exactly how they do it or how they make an old movie into 4K, but I know that it can be done. And if they want to compete with Netflix and Amazon, which both have 4K, I believe that these services are going to have to offer 4K, even if the people like me who love 4K are minority rather than a majority. Yeah. It's I think it's still something that they should do.
Yeah, it really Netflix kind of eased into it, but of course Netflix came from a time when even at like 1080p, or like even way back when they were like 720p, they were at one point like 30% of the entirety of the traffic on the internet. Even at 720p, they have improved their compression. They have done a lot of tweaking on the back end, so it's much lower now. But they kind of had to ease into 4K. I feel like the legwork is done. It's possible, and I'm hoping that soon just means within the next couple of months. So there you go. So there's Disney Plus, and let's move on real quick to Peacock. You mentioned Peacock because that's one of the newest streaming services out there. And Craig in the chat room also mentioned CBS All Access, which I believe is different than Peacock.
It definitely is.
Yeah,
NBC two totally different streaming services.
Yes. One is NBC and one is CBS. NBC, Peacock. Before we talk about CBS All Access, talk about Peacock. What drew you to it? Was there a particular show? Why go for it?
Well, the main reason to go for Peacock is because they have a free version, and they only have a portion of their whole service out there for free, but they have some darn good movies for free. And then after that, if you want to subscribe to get their entirety of their content, it's $4.99 a month. And if you want to subscribe to all of the content without commercials, it's $9.99 a month. So even then, you're pretty much under the Netflix price, and you're getting a lot of content. NBC has a lot of older stuff like Parks and Recreation and all that, but they also have, I think, something like 20,000 shows. So there's plenty to watch, and if you like older stuff like Cheers or Frasier or any of those, to sit and watch it from the first one is pretty interesting. Plus, they have a ton of, again, movies. Now, there's one big catch in both HBO Max. Matter of fact, HBO Max is $14.99 a month, and they have all the HBO stuff, which a lot of that is very popular.
Yeah.
But HBO Max and Peacock both have one huge problem.
What's that?
They're not on Roku or Amazon. So they're not on Fire TVs and they're not on Rokus.
Streaming devices.
It's interesting though, because you can get them from like the webpage itself. Like you can access HBO
browser,
shows from Amazon. Yeah.
Right.
But it's not in the Amazon
You can
TV.
access it, and both HBO Max and Peacock support Chromecast. So if you get it on your computer or your little device, you can throw it to the TV without a problem. But for people that don't want to play with having all these devices, they just want to turn the TV on and have it play. And there's just no app for Amazon, and there's no app for
Well, yeah, and even here on the website in their little FAQ, what devices and platforms support this? All the different browsers, although no Opera, so sad. But Android, iOS, and then Apple TV. So it works with the Apple TV, Android TV. But yeah, I don't see Roku on here, and yeah.
Now it does work on newer LG TVs.
Right.
And I happen to have 2 newer LG TVs. So it's fine for me. I don't have a problem with it. But it is a hang up for some people that, just like I said, want to be streaming one streaming device and get it all. Now, they're fighting with Amazon over and Comcast. They're all fighting mainly over advertising. And I think it's not a question of who can advertise, but who's going to control the advertising. Now, HBO came out several months ago saying that they were going to be on Fire TVs and they were going to do that Roku very shortly.
Yeah.
However, it's been months and they haven't settled it yet. So I don't know what to expect there. It would seem to me that they could at least put them on Samsung TVs. There's other things they could do. So I'm not sure how that's going to play out.
I think that most timelines have been thrown up in the air because of all the recent events, but personally, it seems like the best streaming option if you really don't want to worry about it. And I'm loving it more and more. I got one of the Chromecast, and I think I told you this last time you were on. I have a Chromecast, one of the super Megazord, whatever the latest Chromecast is, and I'm able to mirror my desktop PC. So anything that can be played on a computer can be played on my TV, and it's a little inconvenient compared to a traditional streaming app or whatever. But hey, I'm not worrying about compatibility for years and years and years.
Yeah, well, you're right. I mean, if you don't mind that little extra, the Chromecast will work with all this stuff. So, but I know there's a lot of older people that just don't want to have another device that they have to sling it to and this and that. And just, well.
Yeah, it's although I will say that Peacock, I did not know personally. I did not know that they had a lot of free content up there, so that's very interesting. And thank you for for kind of sharing that. And of course, like you mentioned, there's the $5 a month where you can unlock more content, and then for an additional $5, so $9.99, you get to watch it without ads. That's where Hulu kind of messed up. And Hulu came from a background where I said that Fox had a majority in them, Disney had a small minority in them, and I think it was NBC or CBS had the other like 40%. Essentially all big television players, and they felt that the only way to make revenue, the only way to make money was to play ads on their content. So even at the highest tiers of Hulu for a while, like for the introductory phase, they you had to watch ads. Like even if it was like 2 every 30 minutes, every tier had ads. So I'm glad to see that Peacock, even though it's from a television content provider, they do give you the option to remove ads.
Yes, and I like that about Peacock, and I really do find that there's plenty to watch there.
Although they have live sports, haven't most live sports been canceled?
Yes, I tried to watch NASCAR the other day. It was scheduled and it didn't come on. Then I tried to watch hockey. Same thing. It was scheduled and it didn't come off. So the live sports is something we can't even talk about right now.
Yeah.
Or we can talk about, but it's not worth talking about.
Well, yeah, and really between Fox and NBC and CBS and all these others, I'm glad that they moved the 2020 Olympics back to 2021 because, man, it's really hard to put on a show like that. So
right, and that really hurt NBC without a doubt because that's where they had a lot of money involved,
as well as the places that were going to host it. Because they prepare for that for so many years as well.
Right.
Japan is still planning on hosting it. They're just pushing it back. And I can't wait for Japan and their own specialness that is, that country to host the Olympics. It's going to be
great.
Unique. Yeah. Trust me, I've already seen more robots getting ready for the Olympics than I've ever seen in any other Olympics. So this is going to be great.
Yeah.
Now, with talking about content, so we just talked about Peacock. You think for $5 or really free, and we can go check it out, $5, $10, they have a good catalog. They're worth checking out.
I think they're definitely worth checking out. And there's one other thing on Peacock that you like. Mm-hmm. They say that for the ad-supported stuff that they're showing, there's no more than 5 minutes per hour of ads. Now, if you think about it, some of these ads are getting way out of hand. They're getting more than 5 minutes an hour. So I'm not sure if that's adequate or not, but they do have some options.
Yeah, 5 minutes an hour. So you're looking at 30 minutes, about 2.5 minutes, 15 minutes. So that breaks down to like maybe 2 ads every 15 minutes, which isn't bad.
Isn't bad. And on some shows, what they do is they show you like 3 or 3.5 minutes of ads at the beginning of the show, and then the rest of the show is ad free and ads again at the end. I really kind of liked that.
I was watching a smart TV, and it had all these different apps and different channels, quote unquote channels, that had a ton of different content. And I was just kind of browsing through them, seeing who had what, and they were channels that you've probably never heard of. There was one that was catered to dogs. It was the dog channel. I guess you turn it on and you leave your house.
I've seen it.
yeah. I'm honestly surprised. I thought I was the only one.
Nope.
And you go in there, you turn it on, and for those who don't know, it essentially starts playing like running water. It plays like bird and like animal noises. It's content for your dog, whatever that may be. Probably whatever's in the public domain. And then the reason I bring this up is because you mentioned ads and how many they're trying to cram in. It's the best money-making scheme because people turn this on and they leave the house. Like that's what they assume for 8 hours, 9 hours as they go to work. Oh my God. Because I was sitting there watching it because I was curious. They played 90 seconds of ads about every 60 seconds. They were cramming so much ad time because they assume that you leave. No sane person would sit there and watch that many ads. But dogs don't have thumbs, so they get all the ads. It surprised me that, some people are really trying to cram those ads in.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
I wouldn't recommend it. And if you're looking for dog-friendly content, computeramerica.com. Check it out. Now,
there we go.
With that being said, Peacock, you recommend it. And of course, just like Disney, so much content is, I think, tied up in other deals that as they expire, they're going to go on to the service.
Right.
And CBS All Access, that's what Craig has, he's saying that it has no ads, probably because he pays for it, but CBS All Access.
Right. It is. I think it's CBS All Access is like $10 a month.
Right.
And
so my question to you was, with this and a lot of these other ones that we've mentioned or haven't mentioned, do you feel like the amount of providers is a good thing, or do you think people looking at this would go, this is too much?
well, it is too much. And the funny thing is, we used to get together, with a group of people and say, "Oh, I saw this TV show the other day." Somebody'd say that was great, and we'd all go home and watch it because it was on Netflix or it was on cable. And nowadays, somebody says you have to watch this. Number one, they don't know where they were watching it.
Yeah.
So you say, "Well, what's it on?" They don't know. But then you feel like you're missing out on something because this really good show is on something you don't subscribe to. Now, you can play the game because, as you said, there's no penalties, there's no contracts. So you can add it for a month, then watch what you want, and then not pay for it for the next month, but you have to remember to cancel. And it all gets to be where you're trying to watch TV, but it's a lot more work than it used to be. And then on top of that, things, as you say, are coming and going. CBS All Access is a good example of that.
Mm-hmm.
They have some very good shows on, and I subscribed for a while, and then I canceled because I didn't want to, pay that much. But I love Star Trek. I'm a big Trekkie.
Yeah.
And the Picard movies, Picard series, the TV series that was on was wonderful. The new Star Trek that they have on, if anybody's a Trekkie, I advise them. Discovery.
Yeah,
I think it's
Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah. And now it's going into its third year. So pretty soon they're going to have new ones out there, which I'm going to want to watch. They have a lot of good things. Yeah.
They certainly are. And by the way, just when you Google it, Google gives you that option to look at the other ones: Hulu, Disney, Prime Video, Netflix, YouTube TV, Peacock, Sling, Showtime Stars, Philo, Fubo TV, BritBox, HBO, AT&T TV, HBO Max, Vudu, ESPN, Kibi, NBC Sports. Oh my God, there's a lot of things that you can throw your money at, and it's crazy. It's crazy.
And then there's dog TV, and there's drink TV. If you want to know how to make drinks or you want some company while you're drinking. I mean, the stuff that's out there is unbelievable. You could spend your entire morning or afternoon just researching movies, what you want to watch. And I think some people do.
I think because of the quarantine, we have seen, and you were kind of mentioning this with the Mulan movie. From what I understand, in really all fields, it's driving that period of change. Like they said that they experts were saying that the working from home movement, the idea that companies are paying people to work from their houses, that was a trend that they were expecting to see develop over the next 10 years, and it was squeezed into about 3 months. Like that's why Logitech ran out of webcams, is because everyone needed to go out and buy a very affordable webcam and be able to work from home. So I think that the coronavirus has caused that adaptation that was already happening and accelerated it to, many times faster than it was going to. So what I'm saying here is these streaming services and all of the content that's available, it was going to happen eventually. We're just kind of lucky, if I can use that word, with the pandemic. We're kind of lucky that it happened the way it did because, it drove adoption much faster.
That's true. It really is true. There's going to be more and more streaming, and CBS All Access just announced that they're adding additional content that they've gotten together from various places. So they're all in this to win it. They're all competing against each other. But it's very difficult to actually decide what you want to watch and to have a current subscription to what you want to watch.
Right. And then, of course, the running joke is, when is someone going to get the idea to maybe bundle, Hulu and Disney and CBS All Access, and, you just pay one flat subscription fee?
Well, what do you know? Like cable.
Exactly. Yes, we're going to work our way back around to cable, but really, that's where I recall Roku saying that that's where they're thriving, is that Roku and their value proposition, yes, I think last time you were on, you mentioned that they're coming out with their own, kind of like series and channel, but Roku being a streaming device, they benefit because everyone else is turning to streaming, and they just get to be the middleman.
Right. And that's the problem with Roku and Peacock and HBO Max that they're all arguing about. See, Roku now has their own channel, the Roku channel, and their own content. So they're actually in competition with Peacock and in competition with HBO Max. So it's very interesting to see how it all works out.
Let's throw one more name out there, and let's just say TiVo.
Okay.
TiVo Stream. What is this?
TiVo Stream is their new streaming device, and it has, other than being made by TiVo, it has nothing to do with like TiVo recording devices. So there's no subscription fees with this. It's just like going out and buying a Fire TV or a Roku. Instead, you buy a TiVo, and it streams in 4K. Mm-hmm. I've tried it. I really liked it. It's got a great interface. And the point of the whole thing is that you put in the streaming services that you subscribe to, and then it will give you information or suggestions just on those streaming services. Now, there's already out there a couple of apps that do that for you, but they're kind of complicated and, not too much fun.
Yeah. Yeah, being able to put all the content and really, people are more interested in what they can currently watch than what it is that they could be watching. Because even if, let's say, Amazon, again, notorious for this, they say, oh, you could be watching X, but X is only on this service and you don't subscribe to it. People aren't going to be like, oh, let me pull out my credit card and go pay for that. No, they're going to look for something that they can already watch. That's what we need. Is that?
Well, it is what we need. However, it didn't work quite the way I expected it to. Mm-hmm. It did as far as its suggestions, and it was pretty easy to set up. It works with Sling in particular. It does not work with Prime, with Peacock yet.
Yeah.
It works with Prime. It doesn't work with Peacock, and it doesn't work with YouTube TV, which is a major thing. So they've got to get through those two hurdles. And on top of that, what happened after using it day by day, the suggestions were great. Or I would look up a movie I want to see, and it would tell me which of the services that I have it's on. But about 8 times out of 10, it would be an additional cost. In other words, you can rent this movie at Amazon. You can rent this movie at Netflix. You can buy this movie here. You can, and I just want to have my stuff that I'm streaming now and I'm paying for. I want to have the content that I can see without paying anything extra. So it was, in my mind, extremely upsetting to have that happen over and over again. I don't know what the solution for that is. Can they have the Amazon or whoever it is put a little $ next to the things that are additional or not?
I think it's very much like how Netflix, people say that it's really hard to find things on Netflix and they wish they just kind of showed everything, but they don't do that on purpose because they don't want you to see they don't want you to see how little content, and admittedly almost everyone has a lot of content, but they don't want you to see exactly how much content is on there, because on Netflix, you have to browse through different categories and genres and things like that, and you have to flick through everything, but they don't really give you a full list. And again, they don't want you to see what they have and what they really don't. They want you to get lost in the service. I think that's what they're doing. I'm waiting for one service to just come out and be like, here's everything. If you subscribe to these, put your login credentials, and then it kind of dims out what you can't see and it brightens what you can see.
That might be even more aggravating. You realize that I'm paying a good portion of my money already and I can't see this, that, and the other. So I know what you're saying, but
yeah, it's segmented. So there go TiVo, which I'm glad that TiVo is still, still kicking. I remember seeing them out there at CES. They took not really the loss. Almost everyone has a DVR, but as one of really the first company to come out with the DVR, they had their main product stolen, I guess, or it was a really good idea and everyone borrowed it. And TiVo's still trying to find itself, and I'm happy they're trying to innovate.
Yeah, they are, and I'm happy that they're doing it. I hope that they could take it to the next step. Because it was actually a pretty good product. It costs right now it's at $49.99 for the device, which is just like a Fire Stick or one of those. It's just a small device that you plug into your HDMI port. They offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, which is nice, with a device like this. And I'm glad to see TiVo out there. I hope that they can actually work through the problems that they have to get it going. Yeah. And again, they do stream at the 4K, which is really good.
Yep, and it looks like a number of others do, but of course you have to kind of pay that $50, $50 to $80 seems to be the industry standard. And by the way, just one service that we really haven't touched all that much on was Apple and Apple and their streaming service. They've I can't really criticize Apple because I think last time I checked, they're valued at about $1.9 trillion. As a company, right. They're very expensive, and I can't criticize them in their business, kind of methodology, but kind of like Siri, kind of like a lot of other things that Apple does, they have a tendency to put out a product, it doesn't do too well, and they abandon it almost completely. How has ongoing support been for Apple TV Plus?
Apple TV Plus, when they first came out, had very, very little content. They had the morning show was their big draw, and they had 4 or 5 other originals, some of which were very good. I mean, I loved For All Mankind. It was a show about going to the moon. Even Snoopy going to the moon was wonderful. They had some really good stuff out there, but they didn't have enough to have actually gone online, I don't think. Now, I got a year's free when I bought an Apple phone. So that was good that I got a year free. And it is only $5 a month. And since that time, I think it started somewhere around August of last year. But since that time, anyway, they have added more support and more shows, more original programming. The problem with Apple remains with Apple, but others are having the same problem now, is that when you look at their interface, you can't tell what you're going to pay for or not. Which one of those is talking about HBO or The Elephant Man? These other things are Apple originals. You're getting that with your subscription. But they give you suggestions from HBO, from Showtime, and all this. And when you try to go watch the thing, of course, they're asking you to subscribe.
Right. That can be very annoying. I'm not a fan of that at all. So, speaking of hardware, and of course you can get that on Apple TV, Roku, that kind of thing. But speaking of hardware, one thing that we have in the notes here that you added was Sling. And Sling has become very popular. The ability to just sling things onto your television. They had dedicated devices that I don't think were all that popular, but they were available. Looks like Sling has made a deal with Google.
They have. They've made quite a few deals. And if you recall at CES, probably got to be 3-4 years ago now, Sling had big signs everywhere that they were just coming out. But I think they've done a very good job. They have Sling Orange and Sling Blue, two offerings that are $30 a month each. Usually you just need one of those. If you're interested in, say, HGTV or Fox or one of those, you're going to go blue. You're interested more in sports or whatever, you're going to go orange.
Right.
They just had a deal that I signed up through, which was $30 a month. And they were saying that if you signed up before, it might even be before the end of August, I'm not sure, but before a certain time, they would not raise the price for a year, which was, a little enticing because YouTube TV had just raised their price. Hulu had just raised their price.
Right.
Everybody was raising their prices. So I figured, okay, I could get the things that I wanted for live, more or less for live TV, where you have a lot of news stations and stuff like that for $30 a month.
When it comes to streaming television, and I'm not allowed to cut the cable here at the house. Craig said no, but yeah, and so I begrudgingly pay way too much for cable television, and yeah. Anyways, so that is the thing that I can't seem to get them to kind of wrap their heads around. Them being my parents, is that live television is available through streaming, because they always think that it's backlog catalog. When I tell them that, hey, you can watch Cheers or MASH or whatever you want, they're like, great, that's old stuff, but what about the evening news? That is available more and more. It seems like live sports, live news, that kind of cable news, that is getting easier to find than it used to be, right?
It is. There's Hulu Live, there's YouTube TV, which I think is the best, but the price again has just gone up.
Yeah.
And then there's Sling, and all of those offer a certain amount of cable stations and stuff that you can get through them.
I gotcha. Carissa.
Yes.
What draws you to your current streaming service? Because again, we've mentioned pretty much everyone out there in the field. What would draw you to or away? Is it just kind of the amount of stuff that you can watch on an individual service, or is it a particular show that each one has to kind of come out with? What do you think is going to draw you to one service over another in the future?
It's usually, for me, it's a selection thing. So how much stuff is on the service, but even more so, it's definitely the shows in particular. Like, you can't watch Black Mirror on Amazon Prime.
Sure.
You can't watch, The Handmaid's Tale on Netflix. So like, you just kind of have to hop around to find the stuff that you're watching. And I just kind of stumbled onto that stuff. So I don't usually search for anything in particular. I just somehow end up getting involved in a show, and then I'm like hooked. Except for
Makes
like Game
sense.
of Thrones, for example. But we're not talking about that.
Yeah, so much hate for season 8. I honestly don't get it.
It's
But yeah. So, but you're absolutely right, and I guess that's also why Netflix spent, what was it, about $1 billion to keep Friends on their service. It seems like, Sandy, a lot of these, like the thing that's going to make one stand out over another is essentially having your favorite TV show or your favorite movie that's already happened be on that service, and then like everything else is kind of gravy on top.
That's right. You have to take it like Amazon Prime. I really started watching it a lot when The Amazing Mrs. Maisel came on, and I loved that show. I thought it was great. And then there was Jack Ryan. So if they can actually take something that's really good in the area that I like, and they can keep that coming for a while, then I'm hooked. Then I'm going to keep it. Of course, Amazon Prime, because of the other things that they have with free shipping and all that, is well worth the price anyway. But they do have some very, very nice series on there.
Absolutely.
Don't you find that, Carissa?
Oh yeah, definitely. They're doing really great things on Amazon, and even still, I like how you can. It's not popular having to pay for, to rent movies and stuff, but I do like how they have that option, because there's, the things you can't watch on Netflix. It's like, okay, I really need this specific thing, and you can usually find it on Amazon, even if you got to pay $5 for it. Mm-hmm. So.
And I even saw that Redbox and the main competitor to Redbox that I'm currently drawing a blank on, they're actually putting out some huge movies, and they're posting record profits. So even the alternative to streaming is actually still doing very, very well. Sandy and Carissa, I don't know if you know this, but it's been about an hour. The show's about done.
Oh.
I know. Yeah, crazy, I know. And in this last minute, I just got to say that one thing that both of you have in common that I have not shared, and in the last minute, I just want to know if you're both still playing Animal Crossing. Are you both, Sandy, are you still into Animal Crossing?
Yes, I like Animal Crossing.
It's so cute.
Yeah, it's adorable, and it's a great way to spend the time during the pandemic.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, if you can hunt hard enough, I don't recommend that you do. Don't hunt down my co-host, but if you hunt down Carissa, her profile picture is her character from Animal Crossing. So,
Okay.
Just want to say, just want to get that in there. That other than streaming, there are video games galore to pay attention to, and
we could talk about it forever, couldn't we?
Too.
Yeah, exactly. And music streaming as well. And although I do want to mention that, Sandy, next time you're on, I think we will know more about a particular product, which is Google made a large investment into ADT. And I don't know if you're all that interested in home security, but I think
Sure.
Google and ADT and Google devices are going to become security products. So maybe next time we can touch on that.
Sounds good.
All right, perfect. So yeah, we'll go ahead and reschedule that. Everyone, Sandy Berger is scheduled every month, second Wednesday of the month. And hey, Sandy, I want to thank you so much for being on. Everyone, if you want to find out more, CompuKiss.com, lots of great content, lots of great articles, and hey, a great way to get in touch with Sandy. Sandy, thank you for being on.
Thanks. Bye to all of you.
And of course, Carissa, thank you for being on as well. And hey, we'll definitely meet you back here next time, same place. Everyone out there, thank you, Carissa. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, audience. Thank you so much. We'll be back. Catch you next time. Bye.
See you later.
Bye.